We're going to recap our trades. And then after we recap our trades, we're going to go over our watch list for the week. But first, being that it's Sunday and being that it is God's day, we want to use a scripture for today. Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. You guys got to work hard. There's no in betweens. There's no if, ands, or buts. There's no question about it. You guys got to work hard. If you want something that's bigger than you, that's something that your family's never obtained, that's something that you personally has never attained, you got to work for it. It's not going to be handed out to you. There's no handouts in this world. Stop feeling entitled to, oh, well, so and so did it. So and so got it. Why can't, why can't, why, Stop doing that. Put your head down, lock in, and work. There's no shortcut to success. There's no secrets that aren't being told in today's day and age. There's so much knowledge and information that's given out every single day on social media, and so many different opportunities and ways and information that's given for people to elevate themselves and go further in life. But the people that look at it at face value and say, "Oh, that's just fake news. That's this." That's not really happening. Those are the people that will stay stuck. Those are the people that are going to just continue to burn their money and continue to do things that are nonsense and just don't make any sense whatsoever in regards to growth. But those who look into it and they take it serious and they study and like, okay, how do I really change my life? How do I go about who do I need to be in? Who do I need to be around? How do I go about changing my life? What do I need to do to better myself? Those are people who are going to change, and that's only going to come with work. So if you guys are not putting in work to elevate yourself and to grow, it says it in the Bible. You're going to lose your wealth. You're not going to. It's not going to last. If because not only is it not going to last from a just financial literacy standpoint, it's not going to last because you guys don't understand the sacrifices and the amount of effort it took to get there. Like you're not going to appreciate the same compared to somebody who worked for it day in and day out and went hard every single day for it. Castanet going on a 30-day stream, and meanwhile we got someone that's downplaying what he's doing or hating on him because they're not in that position that he's in. He worked his butt off to get to that position. So if you feel entitled or upset about somebody else's success, then that just goes to show you're a hater, for one. And two, you just don't have the energy to focus on yourself long enough to lock in and get something done for yourself, achieve some greatness for yourself. Because you can get it too. I can go on a 30-day stream and you can too. You can go on a 60-day stream if you want to and go crazier if you really align yourself with your intentions and what you want. You got to ask yourself what you want. If you don't know what you want in this life, then that's on you. You got to figure that out. You got to get close with God so he can help you figure that out. With that being said, let's get it. All right. So Monday, September 8th, we have the spot chart loaded. And as you guys see, we have the orb level set. It was a very, very tight range on Monday. And we really didn't go much of anywhere, honestly. So we waited around till about 9:20 to take our first trade. Once the orb level was set, we just really kept bouncing in between those two levels. And anytime you see a orb level hold for over 6 candles, so here you have one, two, three, four, five, six, that indicates that there will be a consolidation or a breakout later in the day. And you guys will see later in the day, there was a breakout here, there's a breakout here, there's a breakout here. But for the most part, we stayed within that range of the orb all day long. So around 9:20, I took an entry for puts. The entry did fail, so I did end up taking a loss on Monday, unfortunately, just due to the fact that the levels were not moving. It was an inverted orb rejection. So anytime you guys see a level break through on the orb and it fails to go through, you want to take that inverse of that same position because why? That means that if it failed to go down, obviously it's going to go back up. So take the inverse of the bottom of that candle, get in there, and then boom, you possibly could have made money. So I could have made money if I used that bias, but I didn't wait for candle closure on this candle right here. I got in on this one. It closed here. Um, it closed actually at the orb, and then it went up, and that's whenever I stopped out, like right around here. I just used that previous candle high as a stop loss from this candle and stopped out right there. So we were unfortunately unable to make money on this day just due to the very, very tight consolidation. So I just went ahead and left it alone. I didn't lose much that day. I was like, you know what, it's all good. I'm on the road. I'm not going to stress. Tuesday, we took some very nice trades. We ended up taking calls on this day. Once we got the breakdown on the previous day, um, level that held as well. So the day on Monday, we held around the 647 level. So we broke down into right around that 647 range. And that's where I took my entry on the beginning of this day. So Tuesday, we got in right around here. We literally used a candle low as a stop loss. So I wasn't risking more than like 30 or 40 cents, something like that. And we were able to catch this move back to the orb low and take profit. Then I got back in it again into puts, I believe. And we caught a quick scalp on the put side back to the downside once we reached this orb level here. And then we took profit. So those were the two plays I took on Tuesday. And so for Wednesday, we actually didn't take any trades the whole beginning of the day because we were super busy that morning. But we did get in the market later in the day after we finally got this initial breakdown here. So you guys see the chop throughout the early morning session. Then once we finally set a trend, the trend didn't follow through until later in the day, which is where we actually finally got into the market at. So we took our initial trade here right below this orb low after we see like a formation of a flag, bear flag kind of forming to the downside. Because as I said, the market had a gap up for Wednesday morning after the report came out for that day. And so we took a position here once we saw the weakness for the overall day kind of trends. The trend was already set that day. So we just said, okay, cool. We're going to look for a retest of the orb low as close as we can get. It started building a flag here for bears. I said, okay, cool. I'll just look for a good entry. And my entry was actually at the top of this candle right here. So right around 652.13. And I said, look, I think that if we break back above about 20 to 30 cents, that'll be my risk. I'm cool with that. Awesome. Let's get it. So I took an entry and boom, we caught the downside move here. I believe I took profits here. It came back up and then it rejected once again, down again to the downside, close towards the end of the day. But by this point, I already took my majority of my profits. And that was it for me. Thursday, we took a very simple one and done trade. So I missed this entire move. Once again, I was very busy that morning, so I didn't really get an opportunity to take a trade here. But I was able to catch a very, very small scalp on puts once we got to about here. We actually caught the very top. We were catching pinpoint entries, and this was like the pivot point for this chart. Because if we were able to fail here, we actually would have saw a very nasty move to the downside. And we just used that high of the candle as a stop loss. So like no more than 657.50, 657.60, somewhere around there, just because we knew that if it went back up higher, then we're not going to go. So we took that trade here. We were able to catch a very small scalp to the downside about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes later. And we stopped out of it once it reversed and came back to the upside. So it was a very nice play on Thursday. It was a very small play as well. We didn't put a lot of size into this just because of the way the market was just running. Like I didn't want to risk a whole lot of equity into these trades later in the day, later in the week because of the way the market was moving volatile. And I was kind of going against, well, I was going against the overall trend, especially for Thursday. Now the trend for Wednesday is different. That was a breakdown, but this was a move to the upside, and we were just trying to catch that break from the initial trend. So it never really broke down, as you guys see. For Friday, you guys see that orb consolidation set up, similar to how Monday looked. And honestly, all week it looked like this for the most part. So it wasn't a lot of opportunity, but it was very, very scalpable territory and ability for you to cash flow. So scalping meaning, okay, I'm gonna get in, hit a little bit of profit and take profit and get out. I'm not gonna risk too much money. I'm gonna be in and out in no time. And that's literally how you have to approach the market this week for the most part, unless you were in the right direction and you caught the trend at the opening bell. So we took a position here off of the orb high. We were kind of holding below this orb. And so we got consolidated for a while and then it ended up showing like a very, very, very small flag. We did see a little bit of green, but we wanted to see this thing dump because I overly feel like this is due for a very large rejection, which it did happen later in the day on Friday, but not during my session, my particular trade. We consolidated for a minute, then we broke above orb, and then once we broke back above orb, I stopped out of it. But then I did something really good. I got back in the re-entry once I saw the rejection coming here on this candle. I should have added size because I kind of predicted that they would do it like this. Because knowing the market makers and knowing how Fridays normally work, it typically goes like this. It'll consolidate for a while, break out above your stop loss consolidation zone, and then it'll reject later once it squeezes all of the short sellers, or if it's a long position, it'll squeeze all the long positions out by shorting it early and then reversing. Um, so that's what happened on Friday. So we were able to get back in this position right here, and we use that same method. The highest high is the stop loss, and we were able to catch this move back to the downside. We only caught up to here. We sold it because then it came back up and stopped out our remaining position, which we should have looked for a re-entry at that point, but we didn't. I did end up getting back in it once we closed back below the orb level and just caught like a quick scalp here, back down into this 657 level. And then it reversed once again. And then we finally got the rejection once we got later into the day. So overall, this week was very, very good. We made money 3 out of the 5 days of the week. The other 2 days, one day was break even, and the first day was not was an actual loss. If I put more size on that day, I'm sure I could have made back the loss, but I wasn't even pressed about it just because of the fact that I was just doing a lot that day and I was on the road and I had to focus on other things. So that's the overall recap for the week. Let's go ahead and start talking about the weekly watch list. So here we have the 4-hour chart loaded. And as you guys see, the market is still continuing to be in the uptrend. However, we are getting close to the top, I feel, in my opinion, just because you guys are seeing every time we reach a certain level, like this 650 level here, we had a really sharp rejection come in. So the higher we go, the sharper the rejection comes. Right now we look to be loading up like a very, very, very small flag. So it can possibly squeeze higher. And I think if it does squeeze higher and we break above 660, we'll be able to see up close towards 664, if not higher. So we form a flag here. This flag breaks out and we push into 660 and we break 660, then we can push into 662, 664, and etc. However, if we reject this 660, our next level of demand would be 650. And if we break 650, then our next level of demand would be 640. Now, we do have a very, very, very important event coming up. The Fed is going to be announcing what their rate decisions will be this week. This week is going to be very pivotal because depending on how and what the Fed says will determine what the market does in reaction and in response to said decision. So if the decision goes in the favor of the market, then the market's going to run. We're going to go past 664. We're going to go even higher than that. But if the rate decision is not in the favor of the market, we're going to dump. And that dump is very needed and very due because, like I said, we are in a very overextended range. And I'm not going to say play against the trend, play with the trend as long as you can until it fails you. So right now, the market has not failed at all in regards to the trend. The trend is still holding very strong. You guys see a new higher high, a new higher low, a new higher high, a new higher low, a new higher high, a new higher low, a new higher high. Now we can form a higher low here at this 650 and bounce again. So I would say be careful in this range because this could be a level of resistance at the 659 level if we fail on Monday. Look to take puts and use this as a high, as a stop loss, and ride it back down to 650. But if we break above 660 and we hold with some strength and conviction, look to take calls and use that 659 to 660 as a stop loss, depending on where you get in at. And so that would be my recommendation for SPY, honestly. I mean, we look really good here. We all know we're overextended and it's due for correction, but we can't really predict when the correction will be. So all you can do really is just take the trades and manage your risk. As long as you manage your risk, you'll be fine. And as long as you stay attentive to what the market's doing, you'll be fine. So that's my watch list for the week. I will be watching SPY, looking to see if it closes above 660, how it closes above 660, and whether or not it's worth taking calls, or if we fail 660 and we push back down into 650, and then how we approach 650 as well, because we have this zone of demand for SPY. The zone of demand right now, in my opinion, is about 650 to 652. So anywhere in that range would be where I'd look to get calls if it holds with conviction. If it doesn't hold with conviction, I wouldn't look to take anything in this level. And really, you could say 650, 350 to 650 would be like that range to look to take trades in for this play. So that would be my recommendation for what to watch on SPY. That's my watch list on SPY, at least. I'm looking for a bounce off of 650 or a rejection off of 660. So that's all for today, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like and comment, follow for more. Share this video with 3 of your friends if you want to get wealthy with. And I hope to see you guys next week. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay abundant. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.